All right, let's talk about the one thing that's on everybody's mind right now, the housing market. We keep hearing whispers of a rebound, but is it the real deal? Or is it just a trick of the light? Let's dig in. This is the question, isn't it? Whether you're thinking about buying, selling, or just trying to figure out where the economy is headed. The headlines seem to be pointing one way, but as we're about to see, the reality on the ground is way more complicated. And this really gets to the heart of the confusion. On the one hand, you've got some numbers that look pretty good. Sales are up. But on the other hand, there's this general feeling, this anxiety about the economy that just won't go away. So which story is the right one? Okay, to really figure this out, we have to follow the evidence. So let's start by just digging into the hard data and see what kind of story the numbers are actually telling us. And right away, things get complicated. I mean, look at this. Yes, sales did climb 1.7% from January to February, which sounds great. But then you look at the bigger picture. Compared to this time last year, sales are still down 1.4%. So yeah, it's one step forward, but we're kind of still one step behind.
And what about the price tag? Wow, we're looking at a median price just shy of $400,000. Now that's pretty flat compared to the month before. But here's the kicker. This marks the 32nd consecutive month that prices have gone up compared to the year before. That constant upward pressure is definitely not going anywhere.
Okay, but for anyone out there actually trying to buy a house, here is a little glimmer of hope. The number of homes for sale is actually starting to grow. We're now at what's called 3.8 months of inventory. That's up from January, and it's almost 5% higher than a year ago. You know, more options on the market could finally start to take some of the heat off those rising prices. And then there's this really curious little detail. Get this. Even with mortgage rates being lower, almost a third, 31% of all home sales in February were all cash deals. That's a pretty big jump from the month before. It kind of suggests there's this whole group of buyers out there who aren't even thinking about interest rates. So the data is telling a really messy, conflicting story. But, numbers don't exist in a vacuum. Now let's talk about all the stuff happening in the world that's casting this big shadow of uncertainty over the whole market. This quote from Mark Halpern really nails it. Buying a house it's one of the biggest decisions you'll ever make. And if you're feeling even a little bit shaky about your job, well, you're probably going to press pause on a decision that big. And Lisa Sturdivant takes it a step further, connecting the dots to global events. A conflict overseas isn't just some headline. It can hit your wallet directly, especially with energy costs. If we see a big, sustained spike in gas prices, that could absolutely slam the brakes on the whole spring housing market. So with all this doom and gloom, you'd think the market would just slow to a crawl, right? Well, what if the opposite happens? This brings us to a really interesting, kind of counterintuitive theory, the possibility of an unexpected surge this spring. I know, it sounds crazy, doesn't it? How could all this fear and uncertainty possibly lead to more people buying homes? Well, the answer comes down to one thing: mortgage rates. Okay, let's just walk through how this could happen. First, all that economic uncertainty we've been talking about starts to build. That creates what you could call rate anxiety. Buyers start getting nervous, thinking, hey, these current mortgage rates won't last forever. So what do? They rush to buy a house now to lock in a lower rate while they still can. And the effect is that sales that might have normally happened in the summer or even the fall get pulled forward into the spring. And this is the catch. This is the crucial part. A rush like that would create the illusion of a really strong spring market. We might see some fantastic sales numbers in the short term, but it's not real, sustainable growth. It's really just borrowing sales from the future, which could mean a much, much quieter market later this year. So, as you can see, the market is basically caught in this massive tug of war. Let's wrap up by looking at the key forces pulling it in opposite directions and what it all means for the next few months. This visual really lays it all out, doesn't it? In one corner, you have everything that's trying to push the market up. A ton of pent-up demand, more houses finally hitting the market, and that potential fear-driven rush to lock in a rate. But in the other corner, you've got these heavyweights pulling everything back down. Global uncertainty, job insecurity, and that looming threat of inflation. It's a market in total tension. And so it all really boils down to this one final question. As we head into this make or break spring season, which feeling is going to be in the driver's seat? Will it be the hope of finding a dream home in a market that has more options? Or will it be the fear that if you don't act right now, you might miss your chance?
The answer to that is going to define the housing market for the rest of the year.